Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful Good Friday wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And once again, this is the one-day chart. We're sitting here at $1.31. And the price of XRP dropped because the president injected more uncertainty into the market. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But if you look at the 1 week, we're now back into this channel where we were yesterday, in between $1.30 and $1.37. I just want to see XRP break out already. I want to see all of crypto break out already. Look at Bitcoin back down under 67K. And again, we are still following Bitcoin, but that will not last forever. Eventually, XRP will decouple from Bitcoin. It's just a matter of time. But for now, when Bitcoin moves, the rest of the market moves with it. And look at the fear and greed index. We're now at a 28. Yesterday, we were at 32. And I was hoping we were going to push up into neutral again. But uncertainty brings fear back into crypto. And this is what happened. So, summary of President Trump's address to the nation. 1. The Iran war will last another 2 to 3 weeks. 2. The U.S. will strike Iranian power plants if no deal is reached. 3. Core strategic objectives are close to completion in Iran. 4. The U.S. will bring Iran back to the Stone Age. 5. The U.S. will not import oil from the Strait of Hormuz in the future. 6. Iran's navy is gone and their air force is in ruins. U.S. oil prices are surging above $103 per barrel after the speech because he brought uncertainty back. Remember, we were close to some sort of peace deal just last week. Now the war is going to last another 2 to 3 weeks. Now we're going to strike Iranian power plants again. All of that brings uncertainty back into crypto. And as long as this war prolongs, we are not going to see any major moves in crypto. If we got peace in the world, crypto would go absolutely parabolic right now. And then he said this, take a listen.
We built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever, with 53 all-time record highs in just 1 year.
So I don't know about you, but I'm just not falling for this anymore. No inflation. I mean, you see the gas prices. We knew they were going to rise. But look at food prices. Look at everything else. The only thing that is cheap is TVs and software. Everything else continues to go up in price. And here is oil today, $112 per barrel. And it doesn't show any signs of coming back down. Everybody keeps saying, don't worry, it's going to go down so quick, and prices at the pump are going to go down so quick with it. But everybody's still pushing the idea that we're going to see $200 per barrel. And one of the people pushing that is BlackRock, Larry Fink. And that is what makes me think oil's going higher. This comes from Ripple to capture the value of a projected $16 trillion tokenized economy. Institutions need more than just storage. They need resilience. At Ripple, we provide a security environment that mirrors the rigor of the banks we serve. We combine HSM with FIPS certified hardware to deliver security that scales, protecting assets without sacrificing operational speed. But legitimate Integration with the global financial system requires verification. That is why we strictly adhere to SOC 2, Type 2, and ISO 27001 standards, ensuring your infrastructure is not just powerful, but compliant. So now everybody's talking about $16 trillion coming on to the XRP ledger. And Chad Steingraber broke it down. So he's talking about if 16 trillion was to come on chain, what would the price of XRP be? $266.67. But this is just early numbers. You got to remember, tokenization, it's going to be in the hundreds of trillions of dollars in value, and it's going to happen in a very short period of time. Everybody always wonders, how does XRP get to 3 digits? This is how it happens. This, cross-border payments, unlocking Nostro accounts, and so on. But I always look back and I think to myself, everybody's still factoring in market cap. And market cap doesn't matter. Utility and use case matters. Supply and demand matters. And I'm telling you now, you see all these institutions, the demand for those XRP ETFs, that is not going away. And we're going to see even more demand when the price starts to break out. You're also going to see a lot more demand as institutions continue to onboard into this space. We are just at the beginning. This is bigger than you could ever imagine. Ripple Treasury becomes first TMS to offer native digital asset capabilities for corporate CFOs. Now, here's what's big about this. Digital asset accounts support XRP and RLUSD with 15 decimal precision and automated real-time transaction recording. Unified Treasury connects multiple custodians via Clear Connect, giving CFOs one real-time dashboard for all positions. This is bringing XRP into the mix, and that's a very big deal because this can actually bring value to XRP. And here's what Brad Garlinghouse had to say. The secret sauce is simple. Give corporates a trusted, regulated entry point embedded in workflows they already use. Remove the friction between managing different accounts, fiat or digital. Both of those are now solved today with Ripple Treasury. Ripple Treasury is on a tear. Last year, facilitating $13 trillion in payments for customers. This year, with the addition of native digital asset capabilities. So imagine them utilizing XRP inside of some of those transactions. All of a sudden, the price of XRP will change quickly. And I want to see how this affects the price of XRP early on. That'll give us an idea on how fast the price of XRP could rise throughout the rest of this year. Cardano founder joins Avalanche CEO in mocking Ripple. So here's what happened. First, you got the guy from Avalanche. Banks are choosing Ripple. April Fools. Obviously, they actually use Avalanche. Charles Hoskinson says, but it's the standard. Brad Garlinghouse said, glad to know we're living rent-free in your head. You know, Charles jumping in on this, it's not surprising because Charles right now, he's blaming Brad Garlinghouse for everything. You know, everybody wants the Clarity Act to get passed already. We need it in the United States for innovation to push forward. Brad said we need to get something passed because you don't know what you're going to get after the midterm elections. And now Charles is acting like the guy who's fighting for all of crypto. Ripple already battled it out with the SEC. Where was Charles Hoskinson when that was going on? But then after Ripple won, right away, Charles ran to Ripple and wanted to build out with Ripple. Remember that? He wanted to bring Cardano and Ripple together. Now, all of a sudden, Charles is singing a different tune. And now he feels left out. That's what's really going on here. The next impulse will be televised. The next impulse on XRP is going to melt faces. People don't realize how fast this market can turn around. One day you're sitting here complaining about the price of XRP, and the next day, all of a sudden, your portfolio starts to look like phone numbers. And you could see how they're talking about this breakout happening. The next push, $10.43. Then you see the pullback to $4.02. Then the next push up to $27. Now, people believe that wave 5 could possibly take us into 3 digits. It depends on what happens before the breakout happens. Is tokenization taking place? What about scarcity for XRP and so on? It's too hard to say how high the price is going to go. But one thing is for sure, once you see this first push up and then this pullback happening, everybody's going to say the top is in. Everybody's going to be trying to convince you that you should have sold at $10 because now XRP is going back under $1 again. And most people will fall for it. Then all of a sudden, XRP goes on the next push up, which is going to be so much higher. That's why I keep telling you, before you even consider selling some of your XRP, take a good look around and see what's happening in the real world first. And here's the volume for today. $14.14 million in XRP ETF volume. And like I said at the beginning of this video, this doesn't look like it's slowing down at all. In fact, I'm expecting that volume to rise with the price. XRP leads the pack. $15.8 million weekly inflows outshine Bitcoin and Ethereum. So with Bitcoin losing $194 million and ETH recording $221 million in outflows, XRP still continues to bring in more volume, more money. You know why? Because these institutions, they jumped into Bitcoin because it was the only option. Then it was Ethereum. That was your second option. So some people said, well, I'm tired of Bitcoin. Let me go in on Ethereum. Now there's better projects, better ETFs out there, and they want exposure to that now. That's why the money is shifting, and that money is going to continue to shift. David Schwartz clarifying his 2017 XRP can't be cheap quote. So now here's what David had to say. You're thinking about it from the point of view of an XRP holder. When I say XRP cannot be cheap, if you're talking about this post, that was talking about it from the point of view of using it for payments. So think about it like this. All of a sudden, we start to see payments ramp up where XRP is being utilized. As that happens, XRP's price has to rise because it would only make sense for that to happen. You're not going to move all of this money, all of this value with a cheap XRP. XRP cannot remain dirt cheap forever. It has to be at a much higher price. People will argue and say nobody's going to use it until it's sitting at $100 first. But what about the set price? What if one day we wake up and all of a sudden XRP is at $5,000 and that's the set price for XRP? Then it continues to go up from there as more and more banks start utilizing it, especially the central banks, moving that CBDC from point A to point B. We're very close to that now. CBDCs are going to be talked about everywhere in 2027 as we push towards the new financial system. But people who think XRP is going to stay at these prices forever, they're only fooling themselves. XRP targets $1.47 to $1.49 as falling wedge breakout looms. everybody's talking about the falling wedge, because every time you see a falling wedge, usually you start to see the breakout happen next. And everybody is expecting it. Most people thought it should have happened already. The longer we stay in this falling wedge, the higher the price is going to go. You know, everybody thinks it's over right now. And usually when everybody's giving up, that's when the breakout begins. But right now, we're still looking at XRP and it's still stuck in this channel. When is it going to move upward? Nobody really knows, because every time the market looks like a breakout is about to happen, right away, some real world event takes place and uncertainty is pushed right back into this space. And that's what the president just did. Now, if he would have came out and said, we're working on a peace deal with Iran, and there's a chance we get peace within the next week or so, the market would have definitely reacted differently. Because when you talk about peace, what you're really talking about, what the market sees, is certainty. And that's what we need right now. I think the Clarity Act will bring certainty as well. But that's not going to be the big price mover, not early on. Peace would be the biggest price mover that we could hope for right now. But like I always tell you, until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.